Hey YouTubers. Yeah, I'm just out of the shower. It is 8:35 p.m. Still Saturday, September 4th, 2021. Still Houston. Okay. Um, More about foreign languages. I have already uploaded several videos about languages. I didn't think I was going to be able to. Initially, I thought I'd be able to get into this, but as I started going over trying to find more language material, I wasn't having too much luck. I did come across Sierra Lisa and Lingo Hut, which looks like it's going to be somewhat useful, and a couple of other ones might be useful for some cultural insight, and I'll end up collecting more of those, it seems, than the language thing, which will probably serve me better. Okay, why start this thing now? It's a waste of time, so forth and so on. Yeah. No, not really. I already know more or less how I travel, and the phrases I'll probably use on a daily basis, and the ones I will use maybe weekly. So I already have a pretty fair idea of what I should be focusing on. As far as it being too soon to bother with all this, not really, because for me anyway, gathering the language material is probably more important than anything else. I mean, as far as using the little language skills I get before landing, before going there, that's probably only going to last maybe a couple of weeks, if that. Budget traveling has a lot of challenges already built into it. So the more hectic it is, the more trials and tribulations, the less likely you are to try to use whatever language, whatever words you require. Okay, I already know this. I mean, if you're Andrew Henderson and you are being catered to, you may be able to sustain enough good grace to utilize your limited vocabulary and a variety of circumstances over, I don't know, a month, a few weeks, whatever. Yeah, budget traveling and my own personality, I already know. Well, I am not what they would refer to as a people person. As a matter of fact, being a foreigner gives me the advantage of not having to exert extra effort to form boundaries, kind of thing. So that's actually a bonus for me. But I also don't want to come off as rude or disrespectful or whatever it is. So I do want to learn the language enough to at least try to be courteous when the opportunity makes that appropriate. But again, budget traveling is hectic. At times it could be harsh. Harsh is not a good word. Because it depends on where you're going to. I mean, unless you have I mean, harsh. It's not, because no one wants to, not have people visit their country for the most part. So they're kind of course, you get the occasional taxi driver, or, but I mean, for the most part, it's just going to be like very hectic, and misunderstandings can crop up, and it's just whatever. Um, it's probably your fault, though. As the forwarder, you're probably the one that made the mistake, so don't, maybe not, but odds are 7 out of 10 times it's your fault. But anyway, whether you realize what you've done or not, which is another good reason to not only gain a few phrases, but have some cultural insight, so you're not the complete bull in a china shop incarnation. Yeah. Collecting the language material, again, for me, is probably the most important thing. Getting a handle on it is definitely an advantage if you can do that before you get there, getting some kind of handle on it. Mastering it? No, of course not. Maybe the first couple of lessons or whatever, the first few phrases, okay? But, it just, after you've traveled a couple of times, you know when you're most likely to have to start using another set of phrases and all that kind of stuff, but that's whatever. I know for my part, not being a people person, it is to my great advantage to be able to acquire the language material and get some kind of handle on it before I get there. True, after a couple of weeks, I probably will not be using any of it. But once I leave and refocusing my attention, I will acquire more. I'm already getting familiar with the pattern that I have to deal with. Even in, well, actually, once you're there for more than a month, things settle back down again, and then you're able to make another attempt with the language thing. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Just budget traveling is really challenging at times, but it does settle down. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, you are going to come across people that will give you all kinds of advice as far as the best approach to learning a language, and all they can really do, honestly, is tell you the best way for them, because they have no idea really how you'll be using the language, your own personality, your own style, where you'll be traveling to, and all those other thousands of details that go into determining the best way for you to approach learning the language. So, yeah. Okay, so people, persons, yeah. Actually being able to speak to people may be your main priority. If you're not so much the people person, not so much. For you, it will be sufficient for you to be able to order a cup of coffee and have a native speaker understand the words coming out of your mouth, which is basically where I fall into, the category I fall into. So yes, I would prefer being able to use 10 to 20 expressions, being able to pronounce it well enough for a native speaker to understand what I'm trying to say. I have no illusions about wanting to sound like a native speaker or wanting to be fluent in the language this side of 3 years. You know, I mean, once you're in a country, once you've been there for a couple of years, you know, on a certain level, it's assumed that you will be at least conversant in the language. But we're not talking about that at this point. We're just talking about getting into a country for the first time and being able to muddle through, especially if you're a budget traveler, which is, yeah, where my little thing comes in. So, I can see that it's not going to be so easy to accumulate language material. I will have to do the flashcard thing, make my own flashcards, it seems. Just incorporate that into the couple of channels I've already found, or the channel on the website I've found, and whatever cultural insights I can gain, and leave it at that. So that is also what I'm working on, or what I'm starting to get preoccupied with. I think I'm starting to realize this online shop is going to be a little bit more, is going to take a little bit more commitment than I really will be able to give it. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, this is another thing I'm starting to get preoccupied about. Okay, I wanted to separate the language thing from all the other stuff, because like I said, if I ever get down to describing these videos, I'm going to have a hard enough time figuring out how to get to the nitty-gritty without having to divide it into different subject matters. Alright, YouTubers, that's my more foreign language tidbit for the day. Talk to you later.